Okay. Frank Gaffney is the president for the Center for Security Policy and the former Assistant Secretary of Defense. Patrick Poole is National Security Terrorism Correspondent for PJmedia.com. He also has an article that was published today in the Middle East Review for International Affairs. Here's the goal of the next half hour, and that is to get people to understand that Syria is a linchpin. It goes unstable. The entire place goes up in flames, and both progressives on the left and progressives like John McCain on the right are going to try to convince the American people you have to go to war, or you at least have to arm these people. And there's no winners for anybody in the West on this, correct?
Yeah, for my part, I think of Barbara Tuchman's book, The Guns of August, about the series of events that lead to World War I. You know, the sequence of events that become uncontrollable.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're seeing with Syria. We're seeing the rebels shelling across the border into Lebanon. We're seeing Assad shelling into Turkey, a NATO partner, ally.
And Turkey now with the socialist and the Islamic extremists, they're destabilizing Turkey, which I think we're past the point of being able to put the stop back in this bottle, but I know that if we continue to pull on it, it's much, much worse because Russia is involved now, correct?
They are involved. This is a client state, Syria, of Russia's long-standing. They've got big stakes there because it provides a warm water port for them in the eastern Mediterranean, a place we don't happen to have warships anymore, by the way. This would be bad enough, Glenn, and I think what your map very clearly demonstrates is it's not happening in isolation. This just happens, perhaps, as you say, to be the tipping point, but we're watching flashpoints developing all over the world. North Korea, China asserting that South China Sea is their inland water, Sweden, Venezuela, and what's coming next in Latin America, Africa. The problem is, as Patrick says, we've got these tectonic shifts that are taking place in this world, and we're not an anchor stabilizing the situation. In fact, to the contrary, and I think this is really my most important takeaway from all of this, we can't necessarily control a lot of what happens in a lot of these other places. The one thing we can control, and that actually has a lot to do, I submit, with what else happens, is whether we continue to hollow out our military capabilities and otherwise dismantle our power as a nation and demonstrate irresolution. That is, as Don Rumsfeld likes to say, provocative to these other actors that want our heads.
Help me out on this, because I think you're where I used to be, and I am now. I am just, there is no good, because we don't have the money anymore, we don't have anything. No good come from sending anything overseas. However, I am for pull our people back and make this place dirt strong. You screw with us, we vaporize you, and then we call it a day. And we're not going to go over and nation build. Bye-bye, don't screw with us. But come back and reload and rest, and don't go out there and nation build. Will you agree with me on that? Is that... No.
Frankly, I don't.
Okay.
I don't want to fight any wars in the United States. And pulling back, not to say that we don't want to go nation build around the world, but we've got to be able, Glenn, to project power, if necessary, to deal with adversaries on their territory. And this has been my problem with a lot of people who say, come home America. We'll find them coming home with us. We've already seen evidence of that, among other things, as Patrick's documented better than anybody, the jihadists' penetration here.
I know that.
And that's something I think we've got to be able to deter and deal with abroad, not just here.
Okay, back in just a second. Okay, I want to show you real quick what this map means, and we'll go over it again later. But I believe Islam is going to take this region, may take Europe. may take huge swaths of this. If this isn't taken by Islam, it will be taken by fascism. That, of course, is Europe. This is going to be taken by fascism, drug cartels, or Islam. And this is up for grabs. We have people that want power and control. We have Islam coming in. I think it will go relatively stable, but in a very bad way, because these people want our resources. But that is the general gist of this. It shows the infection all over, and no place that is a beacon for freedom. No place that's fighting for freedom. Who wants to go first and tell me what the most important thing is?
I think you put your finger on it, Glenn, in terms of this being the cockpit of the immediate struggle and its efforts to spread up worldwide. As you said earlier, the caliphate is, according to the adherents to Sharia, God's will to be imposed worldwide and follow that brutal doctrine.
Do you agree that Syria is the possible turning point?
Yes.
Key?
Tipping point. Quite possibly.
Okay.
Could I just make one other point quickly?
Yeah, real quick.
This piece of the map is one that we've got to particularly be concerned about. Some people call it our backyard. I think of it really as our front yard. As you said, it is very much up for grabs. And we're watching at the very moment the Department of State telling us not to worry. There's no operational terror cells in this area. Completely wrong, misleading, and dangerously so.
Okay.
Well, the two things that I see are we've lost North Africa to the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda.
Right.
But what we're seeing is the destabilization in places like Mali, Mauritania, Chad, Niger, which has uranium, and we saw the attack on the French nuclear power plant down there. And I think that's going to continue to extend. You also have China at play in Africa. In Latin America, the alliance between Iran and the Chavezistas, the Bolivarian circles,
and China,
and China along Panama and grabbing resources and assets. Right. I think those are the two things that.
But particularly against the backdrop of the debate we're having in Washington right now about preserving the porousness of this border and enabling these kinds of problems not simply to be metastasizing cancers elsewhere in the region, but here as well.
On Thursday, we're doing
irresponsible.
Oh, it is. On Thursday, I'm doing a special on these. The Gang of Eight. That is, this is. It's insane. It's suicide.
It's malfeasance.
Yeah, it is. It is. Does Syria? And help me out on this. I see Syria. If that goes, it just becomes destabilized, and everybody wants it. The way to unite the Arab world is to go after Israel.
Exactly.
And then these two become one.
And the next key is going to be Jordan. And of course, the refugees from Syria are destabilizing Jordan. The Muslim Brotherhood's agitating. And Jordan, once Jordan's gone, and it's teetering right now, that's when they're going to go
How
after
much of a key, I know to Syria how much a key Syria is to the Middle East. How much is it a gateway up into this problem now?
Well, to the extent, as you say, that it continues the unraveling. Right. To the extent it is emboldening the Islamists of either the Shia or the Sunni stripes, you can bet that it is going to be manifesting itself with further outward push. And to the extent that what we're talking about are the world's resources, not just oil, but uranium and all kinds of other materials, it's just incredibly important, and why, as I say, I think what we need now is actually a strategy that says we're not backing away from this. Ronald Reagan had such a strategy. Okay. We need to dust it off.
Then we'll go there next. Let's go back. Really important that you understand, Syria is a lie that you're being told by both the right and the left. Here's John McCain. Tell me who these guys are around him.
These particular guys are among the folks that he was meeting with, of course, while he was there, representing themselves as rebel opposition forces. They and some of the other characters that he was also in the room with are, in some cases, associated with terrorism, specifically hostage-taking of Shia individuals, pilgrims, and, my point is, if John McCain can't be clear about who he is meeting with.
In the room with.
In the room with. Who they are, what their background is, how on earth can he possibly tell us that he can figure out who to arm and that the arms will stay with the good guys?
I want you to know, America, that you are being sold a load of goods, and do not go down this road. Do not go down the road of, hey, we should arm Syria, we should help them. I know it sounds like you're not being compassionate. It is the linchpin. It's probably one of the only ones left. Okay, quickly, in a minute, give me Ronald Reagan's strategy.
In 1983, Ronald Reagan promulgated something called National Security Decision Directive 75. It was a comprehensive strategy for using every instrument of American power, not just military power, but economic, financial, technology, information warfare, political warfare, intelligence assets, to take down what was at that time the heart of the preeminent totalitarian ideology we confronted, Soviet communism. That kind of strategy, which is now in the public domain, needs to be dusted off. I would start with the Islamists, because I think those are the most immediate problem. They're today's totalitarian ideology.
I agree with you.
They are gunning for us as much as the communists.
Who is going to do it except for the new people in Congress and in the Senate? Last word.
Which brings up the question of the Islamist in all these agencies that we would have to do that through.
Yes.
Which I point out in my article today, is that we're completely infiltrated. Gloria-center.org. We have a serious problem here at home, that we're completely blinded. We have Americans dead on our city streets. The FBI knows have been made aware who they are, and we are completely blind to it.
Today, the DOJ is in Tennessee teaching Islamists that they can use civil rights laws to protect from blasphemy, which is completely antithetical to our system of government.
It's Sharia. It is being insinuated here, in part thanks to the kind of penetration these guys have perpetrated. But it's very like what the communists did in their day, and we need to roll them up just as we did the others.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn.